Hezbollah is reportedly showing flexibility in efforts to reach a ceasefire with Israel and Lebanon. The ceasefire proposal was given by the U.S. to the Lebanese government over the weekend, and a response is expected within days. There are reports that U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein could arrive as early as tomorrow to try to finalize the deal. Senior Israeli officials are saying that significant progress has been made toward ending the war that began with Hezbollah firing rockets at Israel as Israel responded to the Hamas massacre in Gaza last October 7th. The U.S.-backed proposal was handed over to the Lebanese government over the weekend, and a response is expected from Beirut in the coming days. After taking a beating that includes the loss of its leadership and thousands of its fighters, Hezbollah is reportedly showing willingness to withdraw from South Lebanon, a red line for the organization until now. The major area of disagreement is over Israel's demand to maintain operational freedom in case the IDF detects violations of the agreement by Hezbollah. If Lebanon's response is positive, President Biden's special envoy Amos Hochstein is expected to arrive in the region this week to advance the framework toward its final stages. The Washington Post reported that Prime Minister Netanyahu told President-elect Trump and his son-in-law Jared Kushner that Israel seeks to achieve a ceasefire in Lebanon as an early success for the foreign policy of the president-elect. Additionally, the Washington Post reported a new element in the Israeli plan, the role of Russia, which would be tasked with preventing Hezbollah from rearming through Syrian land routes, but not in the implementation of the ceasefire agreement itself. Meanwhile, the war is ongoing, with IDF troops advancing on the ground in South Lebanon, with the Air Force pounding Hezbollah targets in the Beirut area, the Bekaa, Tyre, and all of South Lebanon. The IDF confirmed the killing of Hezbollah spokesman Mohammed Afif in a targeted strike in the Beirut area. The army says that Afif was directly involved in terror activity directed against Israel. He directed Hezbollah operatives on the front lines, including the launching of an unmanned aircraft to the home of Prime Minister Netanyahu on October 19th. While the ceasefire may be close at hand, there are no signs that Hezbollah is unable to fire dozens and even hundreds of rockets and UAVs toward Israel daily. Incoming rocket fire into northern Israel is ongoing. At least 30 rockets targeted northern Israel since this morning. More from ILTV's Devo Klein.
There were reports of lightly wounded civilians in Nahariya from shrapnel, and others required treatment for anxiety amid a steady stream of red alerts forcing people to shelter. Haifa is Israel's third largest city, and only in recent weeks has the population been thrust into a position of sheltering during waves of attacks targeting the city. The residents are hoping for an end to the rocket fire, but are not optimistic about a ceasefire happening anytime soon.
I hope it will be a ceasefire. I hope for everybody in Israel, everybody in this world. But I'm not so sure that it will be. But it's enough for everybody here in Israel. Really, enough is enough.
הלוואי ותהיה, בתקווה שבאמת כל תושבי הצפון יוכלו לחזור לבתים שלהם, אבל זה לא נראה שזה מתקרב.
And in yet another front in the multi-front war, just after midnight, a drone attack from Iraq targeted a lot in the south. According to reports from the scene, one of the Israeli air defense interceptors malfunctioned and landed in the nearby Jordanian city of Aqaba. There are no immediate reports of injuries or damage.
A ceasefire with Hezbollah is premature, and Israel will need to attack Iran to stop its multiple proxies from destabilizing the region. That's the word from former British Forces Commander Richard Kemp, who told ILTV's Mayan Hoffman that the head of the snake is in Iran.
So I have with me here Colonel Richard Kemp, a man who has spent most of his life fighting terrorism, fighting insurgency. We're here at the Jewish National Fund USA conference, where Richard is a big supporter and has been a speaker here at the event. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. It's great to be here and great to see you.
Thank you. Now, we are hitting about 13 months plus into this war. We've been battling in the northern front and the southern front. Give me an idea of whether or not you believe that the state of Israel is winning the war.
There's no doubt the state of Israel is winning the war. And let's not forget, it's not just in the north and in the south. It's also on a total of 7 different battlefronts, as well as the political front, which is a very, very difficult part of the conflict as well. But there's no question, and particularly in Gaza and in Lebanon, Israel is winning. The IDF have seriously damaged Hamas to the extent that Hamas is no longer able to present a significant threat to Israel. They've also written down Hezbollah to the extent that I believe Hezbollah is no longer capable of launching large-scale rocket barrages against Israel today. The job is not done in either of those two countries, but the work is well in hand, and Israel is most certainly winning it.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about a ceasefire, certainly with Lebanon, and even potentially getting some of those hostages home and ending the war in Gaza. In your estimation, we're winning, but as you said, the work is not done. So how much longer do we need to fight until we can effectively have that ceasefire agreement?
I think the talk of a ceasefire in Lebanon now is premature, and I've no doubt it's being driven partly by the Biden administration, which wants to see some kind of result before Biden leaves office. And of course, Israel has little choice other than to, as far as it feels it must, to go along with that. So I do think it's premature. There may be potentially a temporary ceasefire in Lebanon, I suspect, if there's sufficient pressure by the US on Israel to do that. But that's not the end of the story. Israel needs to do much more damage to Hezbollah, and it effectively needs to create a situation where Hezbollah becomes demilitarized as a longer-term objective, and there is a very significant buffer zone between the Israeli border and certainly the southern part of Lebanon, to the extent that there is no longer a direct threat to the residents of northern Israel who can then return home. That is not necessarily going to happen overnight, and it's certainly not going to be something that relies upon something like the United Nations to achieve. That's got to be something that's imposed by Israel.
Right, and I understand a lot of the hesitation with the ceasefire is that Israel might not have then the access to go in and to take care of business when it needs to. Now, I want to move to Iran because in the end of the day, Hezbollah, Hamas, these are all just proxies of the Iranian regime. You've been very vocal about the need to have a U.S. administration that would support Israel in its attack against Iran, be able to take out the power of Iran. Do you feel that the Trump administration will be able to achieve that goal or work with Israel to achieve that goal?
All 7 of the battlefronts Israel's fighting on are driven by Iran, and therefore Iran is effectively the head of the octopus, which does need to be cut off. Somehow it's got to be cut off. Israel can't do that without the support of the US. It can inflict severe damage on the Iranian regime and the Iranian nuclear program, but it can't do that without the backing of the US. In the ideal world, I think the US would also go in and attack Iran with Israel. Even under President Trump, I think that's unlikely to happen. But what I do think is going to happen is the handcuffs are going to be taken off Israel to allow it the freedom to do what it needs to do and inflict significant damage on Iran, so that Iran is no longer in a position to run all of these different proxies around the region against Israel and against the West and against other Middle Eastern countries, and also ceases its nuclear program, which presents a threat not just to Israel, but to the whole of the Middle East and the world.
So final question. We're here at the Jewish National Fund USA conference where there are many, many pro-Israel supporters, and JNF, of course, is doing a lot of work in the north, in the south, and across all of Israel. Why is it so important to have the Jewish community here in the United States supporting Israel during this difficult time?
Well, the JNF is a remarkable organization. I don't think there's anything else like it in the world. It's done phenomenal work for the state of Israel over many years and is continuing to do so now, both in major projects, large-scale projects, which will involve, I'm sure in due course, will involve helping with the reconstruction of the devastated areas in the south and in the north. And that's extremely important for Israel and for Jews everywhere, because, of course, many Jews who don't live in Israel have a great deal of affinity for Israel. So it's really important, the work they're doing, phenomenal work, and it deserves to be supported by everybody who supports Israel. And I would hope that would include most Jews in the United States of America.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to invite you to the next ILTV community webinar. This is our chance for our paid subscribers to connect directly with our executive editor, Mayan Hoffman, and dive into the questions you care most about regarding Israel. The webinar will take place next week on Tuesday, November 19th, and is exclusively for our app subscribers. If you're already part of the ILTV family, watch your inbox for a registration link. Not a subscriber yet? Join our strong pro-Israel community and participate in a live webinar next week. And with no progress regarding hostage negotiations and with winter approaching, concerns are growing for the health and well-being of the 101 hostages held in Gaza. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani has more.
Yes, thank you, Steve. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met yesterday with Mossad Chief David Barnea for consultations on the 101 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. Now, the meeting was led by David Barnea following his recent efforts to jumpstart hostage negotiations. However, these have unfortunately stalled due to Hamas rejecting all proposals, somewhat unsurprisingly, as they've remained pretty adamant in their demands for a total withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, as well as a complete ceasefire. Now, on Saturday, a rally was held here in Tel Aviv, just ahead of International Children's Day, which is this week, to honor all the children affected by the ongoing crisis, specifically those who have returned, those awaiting their parents' return, and also, of course, Kfir and Ariel Bibas, who have been hostages for 409 days now. Now, this all comes as the health team of the Hostage and Missing Families Forum released an urgent humanitarian crisis, noting that with winter coming and over 400 days spent in captivity, the hostages are facing increased life-threatening illness and disease. Now, the report covered many points, however, specifically that due to severe malnutrition, with some of the hostages losing up to 50% of their body weight, the hostages are much more susceptible to catching disease and illness, frostbite, hypothermia, cardiovascular disease, respiratory infections. And so, as always, however, now more than ever, with this second winter the hostages are facing, it is crucial that we do everything we can to bring these hostages home as they are becoming weaker and weaker.
Bring them home now. It's day 409 of the war in Gaza. The current IDF battlefield focus is on Jabalia in the north of the enclave. Dozens of Hamas operatives have been killed in recent days as the IDF hunts down and kills any armed opposition in Jabalia. There have also been casualties. The army announced the names of 2 troops killed in battle in Jabalia. They are Captain Yogel Pazi, age 22, from Givot Bar, and Staff Sergeant Noam Eitan, age 21, from Hadera. Pazi is the nephew of former Chief of Staff and Cabinet Minister Gadi Eisenkot, whose son Gal was also killed in the war. The fallen troops are part of the Nachshon Battalion of the Kfir Brigade, carrying out ongoing operations to prevent Hamas attempts to regroup in northern Gaza. Qatar has given up its role as mediator in the hostage for ceasefire talks and says it will throw Hamas out of Doha, leading to speculation that Hamas leadership may move its international operation to Turkey. Well, joining me now is Yoni Ben Menachem from the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs and a seasoned observer of everything regarding the Hamas terror group. Are Hamas leaders leaving Doha and moving to Turkey, or is that only what Qatar wants us to think, and does it really matter?
First of all, Qatar only suspended the mediation regarding the Israeli hostages and the ceasefire in Gaza, and there's no confirmation for the report that you mentioned. I personally don't believe that the leadership of Hamas will leave Doha and go to Turkey. Anyway, they are all the time moving from Qatar to Turkey. They have business there, and they have other Hamas members that are located in Turkey. So I don't see anything new in this report unless we get the confirmation and we get the names that the report claims that left Doha to Turkey.
Yoni, there was a key meeting last night between our security chiefs and the security cabinet. The defense official said that the only way to return the hostages is to end the war. Is that how you see it now?
Definitely not. The IDF did not apply enough pressure, military pressure in Gaza in order to find the hostages, and did not make enough intelligence effort to locate the hostages. What is needed is to bring more forces into Gaza and intensify the intelligence gathering in order to get to the hostages. The Hamas I don't believe Hamas wants a deal. I think that Mohammed Sinwar, the brother of Yahya Sinwar, who is holding most of the hostages, he is following his brother line, and he's trying to blackmail Israel with the hostages deal, and will never release all the hostages. This is why we have to do it ourselves.
Yoni, there is warfare going on in Jabalia now. The IDF has been taking some casualties. Hamas is being confronted wherever they emerge. But are they really being defeated totally? You said maybe we need more troops, or do we need to look at the potential of a permanent military occupation?
There is no other alternative to dismantle Hamas and destroy it completely. I'm talking about its military branch, other than an interim military government in Gaza Strip. The IDF have to announce it officially, and Israel should control Gaza for at least 2 to 3 years. And this way, the army will work freely in Gaza and destroy all the terrorists and kill all of them, and dismantle all the military infrastructure and destroy all the tunnels. This is a long process. We cannot do it now without the full control in Gaza and also controlling the civilians. We have to do that, and this is a political decision.
Yoni, thanks so much for putting it really clearly, and I'll see you back in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei is not in a coma after all. Despite reports to the contrary, he was seen in a new video that appears to be functioning quite normally.
Iran has released a photo of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei amid widespread rumors on social media claiming he's either in a coma or has died. The image shows Khamenei in his office speaking with Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, who was injured in Beirut during Israel's September strikes on Hezbollah. Speculation about Khamenei's health began with an October 27 New York Times report suggesting he was, quote, seriously ill and that his son might succeed him. On Saturday, claims surfaced that the 85-year-old had fallen into a coma. Experts, however, have cast doubt on these reports, suggesting they could be true or false. Khamenei's health has been under scrutiny for 2 decades, with recurring rumors of illness and potential succession. Officials consistently deny such claims, often releasing photos to refute them. A similar pattern occurred last night with the ambassadors' meeting. Rumors date back to 2006, when political analyst Michael Ledeen claimed Khamenei was in a coma. Similar reports emerged in 2009 and 2014, when Khamenei underwent prostate surgery believed to be for cancer. Speculation again resurfaced in 2020.
The Jewish National Fund's annual conference brought together over 2,500 people to Dallas for an inspiring weekend of unity, resilience, and hope. Under the theme, We Choose Life, the event focused on rebuilding and re-imaging Israel's north and south while strengthening the bond between Israel and the United States. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani was in the Lone Star State. Let's see her report.
I'm here in Dallas, Texas at the Jewish National Fund USA's annual conference, and JNF USA is the largest funder of Israel's north and south, which have of course been the hardest hit by the ongoing war. So I'm here now with thousands of others who have come together to see just how that dollar has come into play. More than 2,500 people came together last week in Dallas for the Jewish National Fund's annual conference titled We Choose Life, Rebuilding and Reimagining Israel's North and South. The conference focused on the land and people of Israel, emphasizing a message that transcends politics. It's not about right or left, red or blue, but about building a brighter future for the Jewish state.
It's amazing. I mean, I just became president of the organization, so it's kind of awesome. But it's amazing to know that there's this many people that have come together with a shared common goal of securing a future Israel, dealing with, obviously, the issues of anti-Semitism and education. But these are all people that share the same values that I have. It's not the usual case that you can end up in a space with 2,500 people that share your values, and we may all come at it from a different perspective, and it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Among the speakers were prominent Israeli leaders.
including Michal Uziyahu, mayor of Eshkol, a region ravaged by Hamas attacks, and Nissan Zivi, commander of the emergency squad in Kfar Giladi, a community under threat from Hezbollah. Both shared inspiring messages of hope and resilience. Currently, around 65,000 Israelis remain displaced from their homes in the north. This region, where JNF USA has invested heavily for decades, has faced relentless Hezbollah rocket fire since October 8th. In response, JNF USA has not only provided critical funding, but also partnered with local communities to reimagine and rebuild a brighter future.
And our story didn't start on October 7. And for sure, it didn't end that day either. Our story is a story of life, of light, and of hope.
Together we can, no, we will make the Galilee great again.
The conference also highlighted inspiring stories from students of JNF's Alexander Muss High School in Israel. They shared how their time at the school deepened their understanding of Judaism and strengthened their connection to the land and people of Israel. In a time of rising anti-Semitism worldwide, including in the United States, these young leaders expressed pride in their Jewish identity and a renewed commitment to their heritage.
Hasbara is more important now than ever. I think everyone needs to use their voice. It's not an option. We're outnumbered, and every person who can should speak up.
The conference included a powerful performance by the Special and Uniform Band, earning a tearful standing ovation from the audience. Meanwhile, in the hallways, leaders held meetings to forge business deals and strengthen the Israel-US connection.
I came to call to the old businessmen here in the United States, come and invest in Israel. This is the right time to come and to invest in the Galil and in the Negev. Come and invest and build your future in Israel.
The work continues to be urgent. It's maybe not emergent, but it continues to be urgent.
Outside the conference venue, demonstrators expressing opposition to the war and the State of Israel staged a Palestinian solidarity protest, including a street sit-in that led to several arrests. Despite the disruption, the conference continued undeterred, with attendees united in a spirit of strength and optimism for the future.
It's been an enormously roller coaster year. The good, the bad, the ugly, the pain, the tears, and the happiness. And sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in the oy vey. And this gives us an opportunity to also see, wow, we're winning.
Look, when you get 2,500 people together for a common goal, it's remarkable. People want to be together, and they want to support an organization that's been so prevalent in rebuilding and helping the land and the people of Israel. It's a great feeling.
Sagot Winery, where passion meets tradition. Nestled in the heart of Binyamin, our vineyards yield exquisite wines crafted with generations of expertise.
And let's take a look at our wintry weather forecast. Rain showers are expected around most of the country tonight, with lows of around 13 degrees Celsius or 56 degrees Fahrenheit. And then tomorrow we'll see more rain showers alongside steady top temperatures, seeing highs of about 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I am Steve Leibowitz. Be well. Thanks so much for watching.